Hello lovely people out there, this is your Star Guide Nikita and welcome back to Nikki's Star Guide YouTube channel. So in today's video we are going to talk about the lunar eclipse that is taking place in the sign of Scorpio in the Nakshatra of Anuradha today, that is 26th of May 2021. Though the eclipse will not be visible in India, but it is visible in other part of the world, majority of the parts of the world, and as eclipses are said to have more impact on our mental energies and vibrations, and that is why this eclipse, being a lunar eclipse, it is going to impact us more on a psychological level. So in today's video we will try to understand what are going to be general impacts of this lunar eclipse, as astrologically the concept of lunar and solar eclipse holds major importance. As always, if you are new to the channel, then please consider subscribing. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so that you will always get notified whenever I upload a new astrology video. And please bear with my voice a bit if I think it has changed a bit slightly, and that is because I overate fried items this weekend. So that is the outcome of it, and so hereafter I have to be more mindful of my eating habits. So anyway, that is something very quick and short about what is going on in my life, and I hope you all don't mind about that. So let's get started and analyze how this lunar eclipse is going to impact us according to our each ascendant and moon sign. So when does an eclipse takes place? Astronomically speaking, when Earth comes in between the orbit of Sun and Moon, that is when the lunar eclipse takes place. Whereas if we speak from the perspective of astrology, then when in transit Sun and Moon, the both luminaries, come in contact or in conjunction with the shadow planets Rahu and Ketu, that is north node of the Moon and the south node of the Moon, the eclipse takes place. And eclipse is an important phenomenon according to our astrological scriptures, as Sun and Moon both represent our soul and mind respectively. Sun is our existence, whereas Moon represents our emotions, and that is why when these two luminary gets in contact with the shadow planets which are inimical to Sun and Moon, also they are said to be creating confusions, lack of clarity, uncertainty, and some not so favorable events in life, and that is why eclipse holds such a major importance. It is said, it is observed that before few months of eclipse and after few months of eclipse, the results can get manifested according to the significance of house where the eclipse is taking place in your horoscope, and that is why one should be careful, and not careful but aware with their energies, and what are they acting on, what is their intent during the time of eclipse as well as after the period of eclipse is over. Now, how the eclipse affects us personally. So as Sun and Moon, which represents our soul, existence, mind, emotions, are getting adversely impacted because of Rahu and Ketu, it's like Rahu and Ketu are overshadowing our consciousness, our clarity of mind, decision making power, or our overall vitality, and that is why it is necessary to be to have a healthy routine during the week of eclipse as well as before and after the eclipse is over. During the time of eclipse or after that, we might feel lack of energy, motivation, zeal, or one might face constant headaches, or there can be scenarios of lack of clarity, or agitation might get increased. So it's advisable to not to take any major decisions during this time, but to simply get ahead with the life and mundane chores that you have. Also during the time of eclipse, one can perform puja, that is worshipping any god or goddess that you especially follow, or chanting mantras, especially worshipping Lord Mahadev, or taking Epsom salt baths, cleaning your home is advisable during the time of eclipse, as the energies are quite disturbed during the time of eclipse. Apart from these things, if I have to give a major piece of advice which is practical and viable, then it would be that simply remain occupied with the job that you are doing, with the work that you need to perform, right? Because when we are occupied with work, we focus less on the unwanted things, what is going on outside of us. Of course, eclipse is the perfect time when we should look inward, we should do the introspection, but that doesn't mean that you have to, you should sit idle and not to do any other work, right? The more you sit idle, the more you are prone to overthinking, over agitation, or lack of control, self-awareness. So simply be busy with your mundane chores. Also spare some time to practice some spiritual practices during the time of eclipse. Take a bath if you want to feel fresh after the eclipse is over, or the next morning. And the significance of eclipse, especially lunar eclipse, is that Rahu and Ketu are foreign element. They represent out of the box thinking, creativity, or something which is unusual and out of the box. So that is why if one is struggling to figure out some creative solutions to the existing problems in their life, then lunar eclipse is the perfect time to do so. Because during this time our energies will be more focused inwards, and that is why we can introspect in a better manner during this time, leading to finding creative solutions to our existing problems. Or if one is looking forward to have access to the healing, or if someone is having mental blockages, if one is not able to heal from traumatic events or memories, then this is a powerful time period. Not just the day of eclipse, but 1 month before the eclipse, and even 1 to 2 months after the eclipse time. This is a powerful time period. One must practice certain rituals during this time. You can write down your thoughts. You can do breathing work, especially because lunar eclipse is related to our mind. So taking control over our breathing with the help of good breathing exercises is said, and it's proven remedy to sail through the intense energies of lunar eclipse. So this was all about the general impact of lunar eclipse on each one of us. But this year's lunar eclipse, this is the first lunar eclipse of the year 2021, and it is extremely significant astrologically speaking, because moon is going to get conjunct to Ketu and getting under the effect of lunar eclipse in its sign of debilitation, that is the sign of Scorpio. And that is why this year's lunar eclipse is extremely powerful, and the results are going to be extremely intense, because firstly, moon will be in its sign of debilitation, but Ketu is strong in the sign of Scorpio. Ketu co-rules the sign of Scorpio, and Ketu loves the environment of Scorpio. It is all about transformation, looking inward, going inward, doing the cleansing process, getting rid of your traumatic patterns in life, understanding why you think the way you think. So that is why this lunar eclipse holds such a major importance. Also, if I have to give more details about this today's lunar eclipse, then Sun, Rahu and Venus are also going to be a part of this lunar eclipse, as these 3 planets are transiting through the sign of Taurus, that is opposite to the sign of Scorpio where the lunar eclipse is taking place. So Mars, which is the host of this lunar eclipse, that is the ruler of the sign of Scorpio, is transiting through the sign of Gemini along with Mercury today. So if we see that from the sign of Scorpio, Mars is transiting 8 places away in the sign of Gemini, and that is why the effects, the transformation is going to be intense this year. And if I have to talk about the significance of lunar eclipse in the sign of Scorpio, then this is going to be a powerful time to get rid of any unserving patterns in our life, in our personality. And as Mars is also transiting 8 places away from this moon, so we will be forced to look inwards, to go inwards, and to do the cleansing process in the area of life which is signified by the house where the sign of Scorpio falls. Or if you have any planets placed there, then the cleansing process shall be initiated, or shall take place, or can get completed during this time. of 1 or 2 months, either before or after the eclipse. And if I have to talk about the nakshatra of Anuradha, then moon will be in the nakshatra of Anuradha. Anuradha nakshatra is ruled by Saturn, and its symbolism is the flower lotus. So what is it all about? Now, lotus flower is the only water which grows in the muddy waters, and it blooms and it blossoms, and it looks simply gorgeous. It is so resilient, and that is what the sign of Scorpio, the center of the sign of Scorpio, that is the nakshatra of Anuradha, is all about. The more devoted you are, the more determined and resilient you are, the better your life is gonna be. So people who are having planets in Anuradha, or those who are having Anuradha moon, they can resonate well with the words that I just spoke. And do let me know in the comment section if you too have noticed this pattern in your life. And so during this time, we have to devotedly and in a determined manner, we have to work on initiating the cleansing process in our personality, in our lives. And if you try to avoid the process of cleansing, if you try to dodge the process of transformation, then this eclipse transit, this eclipse energies are going to be intense and harsh on you. Because remember, Scorpio is the sign which represents our fears, psychological blockages, and it is represented by muddy waters, where unlike Cancer or Pisces, we cannot see what is inside it, right? It's like the dark hole. And of course, almost all of us don't like, being in a dark pit of hole, right? But that is how the cleansing process works. That is how we do the shadow work in our personality, and that is how we grow towards the light in life. Because remember, from the sign of Scorpio, the sign of Sagittarius comes second. Sagittarius is all about light, optimism, hopefulness, determination. And if you want to reach to that stage of optimism, confidence, then you must go through the process of inner transformation, and you better be ready to get your hands dirty in the muddy waters of Scorpio, because without which you cannot reach the light. That is the sign of Sagittarius. Also this year, Venus being a part of this eclipse, Venus will be strong in transit in the sign of Taurus, and its energies are getting really disturbed because of these heavy energies of Sun and Rahu on both sides, and again the eclipse. So during this time, all the second house related matters are going to get transformed in our lives, such as our speech pattern, our eating habits, our family relationships, or what do you value in life. If you are worried about accumulated of wealth, or you are worried about your married life, you are worried about some psychological patterns in your personality or life, which you know that they are causing hindrance in you reaching to the next positive stage of life, then lunar eclipse can be a perfect time to work on all of it. And remember my advice: stay occupied, stay busy. Don't forget to perform some particular breathing exercises during this time, chant mantras, take enough rest, and taking enough sleep is also advised, as the energies are quite disturbed and it can hamper our peace of mind. So now we will try to understand who will get impacted most by this lunar eclipse. So suppose if you have any planets placed in the nakshatra of Anuradha, the sign of Taurus or Scorpio mainly, then you are likely to get impacted majorly because of this lunar eclipse energies. Secondly, if you are undergoing the Mahadasha or Antardasha of either Moon, Sun, Rahu, Ketu, Venus, Saturn or Mars, then this lunar eclipse is going to be impactful for you, and it holds importance in bringing about major transformations in your life. So the transformation can be either positive or negative, or it can be a smooth process or a harsh process, depending upon your consciousness, your awareness. So make sure that you are staying aware during. And now we will try to analyze its impact on each ascendant and moon sign. Also, don't forget that if you want to take a professional consultation from me, then please send an email to nikkistarguide@gmail.com. For the Aries ascendant and moon sign natives, the eclipse, the lunar eclipse, is going to take place in your 8th house of the sign of Scorpio, whereas Mars is the ascendant ruler of your, or the moon sign ruler for your horoscope, and Mars is going to be hosting this lunar eclipse in its own sign, whereas Mars will be transiting through the 3rd house of Gemini along with Mercury, whereas Rahu and Sun will be a part of this eclipse along with Venus in the sign of Taurus. During this time, you might go through some hindrances in attaining peace of mind or the peaceful state of mind, and you are advised to remain calm and composed during this time. Let go of all that is not serving you for your highest good, including your unserving chronic patterns, bad habits. If you want to bring up any change in your food eating patterns, then this is the perfect time. If you feel like you have been stuck with a constant income and which is not growing above a certain level, then this is going to be a time period when you can do the conscious work of understanding where you are going wrong in attaining more wealth or becoming more prosperous in life. This is certainly going to be a powerful time period for all the Aries natives, because 2 houses which deals with wealth, one is accumulated wealth, whereas one shows unearned wealth. So there can be major events related to your finances, familial life, mother, as well as your household chores or your homeland. As the Nakshatra ruler, that is sign of Saturn, is placed in the 10th house of horoscope, being the ruler of the Nakshatra of Anuradha, it's advised for the Aries natives to remain occupied with their career pursuits and the karma that they need to perform in day-to-day life. Whereas Ascendant Lord Mars being in the 3rd house, you are advised to gather all the necessary information that can be helpful in healing from the past old unserving patterns in life and move ahead in life with speed, courage and determination, and along with some smartness, because that is what the Mars in the 3rd house of the sign of Gemini is indicating for you. Overall results will be dependent on the current dasha one is undergoing, as well as the natal planets posited in the signs of Scorpio, Taurus. For the Taurus ascendant and moon sign natives, the lunar eclipse is taking place in the 1-7 axis in your horoscope. The lunar eclipse will take place in the 7th house, that is the sign of Scorpio, whereas Sun, Rahu and Venus, that is your ascendant lord or moon sign lord, will be transiting through the 1st house. Whereas Mars, being the host of this lunar eclipse, is transiting through the 2nd house from the sign of Gemini along with Mercury. This is certainly going to be a powerful, manifesting, full of transformation time period for the Taurus natives. There can be major changes taking place, especially psychologically, in matters of relationships, wealth, finances, relationships, partnerships, business, as well as marriage. This lunar eclipse is especially focusing on you bringing about the necessary changes, the intense transformation in your personality and life path, as Sun, the 4th lord and the significator of soul, is also being a part of this eclipse along with your ascendant or moon sign lord. So this is the time period when Taurus natives should take initiative in bringing the necessary transformation in their personality, in their thought process, the way they deal with relationships, or the way they deal with situations in life in general, with respect to how much courageous one feels, or when it comes to their speech pattern. This is the time when you can anchor your speech pattern in order to bring in the necessary transformation in your life. So be aware and mindful of your speech, and the overall results of this lunar eclipse will be positive for you, or they will take you towards the positive growth, I would say. The Nakshatra ruler of the Anuradha, that is Saturn is transiting through the 9th house, being retrograde in its own sign. So Taurus natives are advised to stay righteous during this time. Don't commit any illegal act or don't disrespect your father. If your father gives you any advice, then make sure that you are taking it into consideration. Same goes for your teachers and gurus. Avoid being hasty or agitated while dealing with your family members or your spouse. Overall results will be dependent on the planets posited in the sign of Taurus and Scorpio in your natal chart, as well as the current Mahadasha and Antardasha one is undergoing. For the Gemini ascendant and moon sign natives, the lunar eclipse is taking place in the 6th house of your horoscope, whereas right opposite to that, Sun, Rahu and Venus are also becoming a part of this eclipse in the sign of Taurus, whereas Mars, being the host of this lunar eclipse, that is the ruler of the sign of Scorpio, is currently transiting through your ascendant or moon sign, that is the 1st house of your horoscope. So during this time, Gemini natives are advised to be careful about their health routine as well as their day-to-day acts. What are they getting involved into on day-to-day basis is what is going to get transformed during this time. So make sure that you are following a healthy routine during this time. As Mars is coming to your ascendant or moon sign, this definitely shows that it is surely going to bring in the transformative events in your personality, in your psychology, in your thought process. If you are ready to get transformed on a subconscious level, if you are doing the inner work constantly, or if at least you are aware of what causes you a certain boundaries or causes a fear in your mind, then this eclipse will help you get rid of all those patterns, as Sun, Rahu and Venus are transiting through your 12th house. The Nakshatra ruler of Anuradha, that is planet Saturn, is currently transiting through the 8th house of your horoscope, being the 8th lord. So Gemini natives are advised to use this Saturn's position as an anchor to get ahead in life, and you will be asked to do the inner work during this time more than many other signs. There can be major events taking place related to expenditure or accumulated wealth, inheritance. If there are any issues going on at your place of work, career, then this is going to be a time when you will reflect back on these issues in your life, these pending issues in your life, and this Rahu and Ketu will help you in figuring out a creative solution. That spark of inspiration that one is looking for can be found during this time in these few months, either before or after the lunar eclipse is taking place. So make sure that you are being highly observant and aware, as well as you are following a good healthy routine, taking ample amount of sleep, and to not overthink is the key for the Gemini natives. Overall results will be dependent on the planets posited in the signs of Taurus, Scorpio or in the Nakshatra of Anuradha, as well as the current Mahadasha and Antardasha one is undergoing. For the Cancer ascendant and moon sign natives, the lunar eclipse is taking place in your 5th house of Scorpio, whereas Sun, Venus and Rahu are also becoming a part of this lunar eclipse by being opposite to the sign of Scorpio, that is the sign of Taurus. Whereas Mars, being the host of this lunar eclipse, that is the owner of the sign of Scorpio, is currently transiting through the 12th house of your horoscope along with Mercury. Being a Cancer ascendant person, you are already prone to extreme changes, either in mental level or in a physical realm as well, because you are ruled by planet Moon, and now planet Moon is getting in contact with the shadow planets Rahu and Ketu, causing it eclipse. So Cancer natives are advised to take special care during the lunar eclipse. Your whole life path can get transformed, especially on a psychological level. So suppose some of you are struggling or dealing with some of the unserving patterns in your life path that you always wanted to get rid of, then this is the time when you should do the needed work You should do the reflection of your thoughts, how you pursue life, or how you would like to pursue life hereafter. So this is the perfect time to find some creative solution with the help of either reading a creative book, or by listening to a spiritual lecture, or listening to a person or a person in your network circle who will give you a valuable advice, as the 5th and the 11th house axis is getting under the effect of the lunar eclipse in your case. Saturn, being the nakshatra ruler of Anuradha, is acting like an anchor in your case, and Saturn is transiting through the 7th house of horoscope. So there can be major lessons or learnings related to 7th house matters, such as relationships, or there can be some necessary changes or decluttering that is needed, or you might be asked to show more determination while dealing with other people on day-to-day basis, or people of authority at the place of work, or your spouse. So be careful, be aware, and avoid getting agitated, avoid over speaking, avoid thinking excessively, and doing anything in repetition mode for at least couple of days before and after the lunar eclipse. Overall results will be dependent on the planets posited in the signs of Taurus, Scorpio in the nakshatra of Anuradha in your natal horoscope, as well as the current Mahadasha and Antardasha one is undergoing. For the Leo ascendant and moon sign natives, the lunar eclipse is going to take place from the 4th house of your horoscope, whereas Rahu, Venus and Sun are also becoming a part of this lunar eclipse, that is the sign of Taurus falling in your 10th house. So the 4th house and the 10th house axis is getting activated in your horoscope, which are the major two Kendra houses in the horoscope, whereas Mars, being the host of this lunar eclipse, that is the owner of the sign of ruler of the sign of Scorpio, is currently transiting through the sign of Gemini, that is the 11th house of your horoscope. So for the Leo ascendant and moon sign natives, the lunar eclipse period is coming up with major transformation, both in your work life as well as in your familial matters. Though Ketu is strong in the sign of Scorpio, hence it is showing a lot of spiritual mental progress in your life, as 4th house deals with our emotions. So suppose some of you are dealing with emotional stagnation, or you are holding on to grudges with people, or you are healing the traumatic patterns in your mind, then this is going to be a perfect time when you can do the necessary work. You can practice some of the spiritual practices, or you can chant the mantras, or you can do the breath work, through which you will feel relieved from all those unserving emotional traumatic patterns in life. Your career is also likely to get transformed during this time, so do not resist the transformation. Saturn, being the nakshatra ruler of Anuradha, is currently transiting through the 6th house, so you are advised to make this Saturn as an anchor to attain the necessary progress in life. Saturn is transiting through the 6th house, so Leo ascendant and moon sign natives are advised to stay focused on their day-to-day life and avoid taking on any new debts during this time. If you are trying to repay old debts, then give your best during this time. You might find out some creative solutions in order to attain the progress in your relationship matters, at the place of work, in order to repay the loans and debts that you have, or if you are trying to heal some of the patterns in your family or in your career in order to achieve more financial prosperity and progress, then this is going to be a time when you can take necessary steps in order to fulfill your dreams and ambitions. Overall results will be dependent on the planets posited in the signs of Taurus, Scorpio, as well as in the nakshatra of Anuradha in your natal chart. Also, the current Mahadasha and Antardasha one is undergoing. For the Virgo ascendant and moon sign natives, the lunar eclipse is going to take place from the 3rd house of your horoscope, that is the sign of Scorpio, whereas right opposite to that, Sun, Venus and Rahu are also becoming a part of this lunar eclipse. whereas Mars, being the host of this lunar eclipse, is currently transiting through the sign of Gemini along with Mercury. So in case of Virgo ascendant and moon sign natives, the period is going to be significant in matters related to father, higher teachings, education, gurus, short and long distance travel, your finances, or the term of finances is going to get redefined during this time, because Venus, being the ninth lord in the sign of Taurus, is also becoming a part of this eclipse along with the 11th lord moon. Venus is also the second lord, so you are being advised to play it safe related to your financial decisions. Don't take any hasty decisions during this time. Your relationship with siblings is also going to get transformed during this time, so make sure that you are not being agitated and you are looking at the bigger picture before speaking up. During this time, Virgo natives might get some creative solutions in order to attain progress in their higher education or in their wealth matters or at the place of work, or in order to develop or cultivate a good bond with their neighbors as well as their younger sibling. Saturn, being the ruler of the Nakshatra of Anuradha, is currently transiting through the 5th house of your horoscope, and it is acting as an anchor for you. So you are advised to stay close to whatever makes you feel inspired in life, motivated in life, as well as your values, because 5th house is all about creativity and doing things that lights up your soul. If possible, avoid any travel plans during this time, or if you are looking for answers related to your higher education matters, or you want to rejuvenate your relationship with your gurus, teachers, or your father or a mentor, then this is going to be a time period when you will be able to figure things out related to these matters in life. Overall results will be dependent on the planets posited in the sign of Scorpio and Taurus, as well as in the Nakshatra of Anuradha, and the current Mahadasha and Antadasha one is undergoing. For the Libra ascendant and moon sign natives, the lunar eclipse is going to take place in the 2nd house of your horoscope, that is the sign of Scorpio, as well as right opposite to that, Sun, Venus and Rahu will also become a part of this lunar eclipse while transiting through the sign of Taurus. Whereas Mars, being the host of this lunar eclipse, is currently transiting through the 9th house of your horoscope in the sign of Gemini along with Mercury. For the Libra ascendant and moon sign natives, this is going to be a significant period because your ascendant or moon sign ruler is also becoming a part of this eclipse, being transiting through its own sign. So the results are now getting lessened during this time for the Taurus significations, and your life path is likely to get transformed during this time, either your perspective about life or your life path on a physical manner itself. So be careful, do not make long distance travel plans during this time, take it low key, take it slow during this time, and some of the old people or old patterns, old habits might revisit you during this time. So make sure that you are not giving all of yourself to them and you are understanding things from a third eye view, or you are observing things with a greater intuition and inner guidance during this time. Make sure that you do not take any hasty decisions during this time, as moon is your 10th lord as well. So your career matters are also likely to get transformed during this time. If you are looking for a higher paycheck, or if you are looking to get relocated, then you might find creative solutions to fulfill your desires in matters related to your career, inheritance, finances, insurance, or relocation. Overall results will be dependent on the planets posited in the sign of Taurus and Scorpio, as well as in the nakshatra of Anuradha, and Saturn is acting as an anchor for you, as it is the ruler of the nakshatra of Anuradha, which is transiting through the 4th house, being retrograde. So during this time, Libra natives are advised to focus more on keeping the environment within your home healthy and happy, because that is what is going to help you remain sane and healthy, calm and composed during this time. So make sure that you are doing the necessary decluttering within your home. You are taking good care of your health. You might face headaches or some dizziness during this time. So make sure that you are doing the necessary things which will keep you healthy and happy. For the Scorpio Ascendant and Moon Sign natives, the lunar eclipse is going to take place in your first house of horoscope, either from Ascendant or Moon Sign. Also, Venus, Sun and Rahu are also becoming a part of this lunar eclipse, as they are transiting through the opposite sign of Scorpio, that is the sign of Taurus. And the ruler of your Ascendant and Moon sign, that is planet Mars, is host of this lunar eclipse, being transiting through the 8th house of your horoscope, that is the sign of Gemini, along with Mercury. Hence, Scorpio Ascendant and Moon sign natives are advised to remain careful about their physical and mental wellness during this time. If you are looking forward to attaining some creative solutions in order to heal from some of the physical ailments or chronic illnesses, if any of you are having, or if you are having any mental blockages, then this is going to be a time when you will be able to figure out some creative solutions. There can be a constant need of isolating oneself for a few days of time, as the lunar eclipse is taking place in your Ascendant and Moon sign, and it is the sign of debilitation for the moon, whereas moon is your 9th lord. So it can be possible that through you getting introduced to some kind of higher education, or someone who is like a mentor to you, or a guru in a foreign land, or a spiritual scripture or a philosophical book can be of help during this time. So make sure that you are taking your own sweet time. Do not do anything excessively during this time. Take it low-key, take it slow. Do not overspeak. Do not overcommit during this time. Understand that it's completely fine to take necessary breaks at the place of work, or at least isolate yourself for a while in order to reflect back on what needs to be changed in your personality or in your thought process. With the Ascendant Lord Mars also transiting through the 8th house, this is showing or indicating that you might get access towards some hidden information about someone or something in your life, or it can be about your own personality and life path. So make sure that you are being aware and keeping an open mind, as well as staying low-key and not overcommitting during this time. Whereas Saturn, being the ruler of the nakshatra of Anuradha, is transiting through the 3rd house, so you are advised to take it with your courage. Take the things, the situations in life day after the other, and do not think about the long-term goals right now. Just make sure that you are planning your life out on day-to-day basis. Overall results will be dependent on the planets posited in the sign of Taurus and Scorpio, as well as in the nakshatra of Anuradha and the current Mahadasha and Antardasha one is undergoing. For the Sagittarius Ascendant and Moon sign natives, the lunar eclipse is taking place in the 12th house of your horoscope, that is the sign of Scorpio, whereas right opposite to that, in the sign of Taurus, Venus, Sun and Rahu are also becoming a part of this lunar eclipse, and Mars, being the host of this lunar eclipse, that is the ruler of the sign of Scorpio, is currently transiting through the 7th house of your horoscope in the sign of Gemini, along with Mercury. So during this time, Sagittarius natives might introspect their thought process a lot, because Moon, being the part of this lunar eclipse, is your 8th lord. So you are constantly thinking, you are constantly reflecting back on some of the old unserving patterns in life which have been causing some kind of hindrance in your life. There can be major events related to your job, the place of work that you are currently working in, or there can be major events related to accumulated wealth, savings, expenditure, foreign travel, foreign business. So if you are looking forward to get any creative solutions to all these matters, then this is going to be a perfect time when, with a little bit of push and little bit of inner work, or by you having a quest to figure out a creative solution to the problems, existing issues in your life, you will be able to access the healing. You will be able to tap into the mode of healing and attaining the future progress in your life. As your ascendant lord Jupiter is currently strengthened in the 3rd house of your horoscope, so during this time, with a little bit of efforts, Sagittarius natives will be able to sail through the tide in a strong manner. Whereas Saturn, being the Nakshatra ruler of Anuradha, is acting like an anchor in your case by transiting through the 2nd house of horoscope. So Sagittarius natives are advised to focus, to be aware about their familial matters, about their values, about their accumulated wealth, and do not make any hasty decisions related to spending a chunk of money altogether. Do not get into any debts, new debts during this time especially, and if you are having any financial crisis or problems, or you are into debts during this time, then praying or setting right intent during this time, or taking steps towards how you can repay the loan back in the destined time period can also work during this time. And there can be some major piece of advice that can come your way through either your spouse or other people, or someone from your educational field, or a person that is living at a far distance place from your birthplace. So overall results will be dependent on the planets posited in the sign of Taurus, Scorpio, in the nakshatra of Anuradha, as well as the current Mahadasha and Antardasha one is undergoing. For the Capricorn ascendant and moon sign natives, the lunar eclipse is going to take place in the 11th house of your horoscope, that is the sign of Scorpio, whereas right opposite to that, Venus, Rahu and Sun are also becoming a part of this lunar eclipse by being transiting to the opposite sign of Scorpio, that is the sign of Taurus. Whereas Mars, being the host of this lunar eclipse, is currently transiting through the 6th house of the sign of Gemini along with Mercury in your horoscope. Capricorn natives are advised to maintain harmony and peaceful environment within their relationship, married life, or even with their business partnerships or partners, because Moon, being the 7th house lord, is coming under the effect of eclipse. It is causing eclipse, so being in the sign of debilitation in the 11th house, this is the time when you should avoid taking major decisions or avoid getting into fights with your colleagues, with your people in network circle, or especially with the business partners, as well as your spouse and your mother. So Venus, Rahu, Sun are also becoming a part of this eclipse in the 5th house. So this can be possible that you might figure out a creative solution to increase and enhance your accumulated wealth during this time. As Moon is also 7th house lord, so you have to be careful while dealing with other people in general, and these aspects of life are likely to get transformed during this time. Saturn, being the nakshatra ruler of Anuradha, is acting like an anchor while transiting through its own sign, being retrograde in your 1st house. You are advised to stay truthful to your part of karma and dharma in this lifetime. You will be asked to perform your duties diligently, to remain righteous, punctual with your karmas, or that the career that you are currently into. Those who are into romantic relationships or those who are still students, then this is the time period when there can be some testing periods of your relationship or of your educational matters, pursuits. So be careful, and be careful while consuming a lot of information during this time, because it's the 5th and the 11th house that is coming under the effect of eclipse for you. So be mindful of how much of information you are consuming, and make sure that you are filtering it out at the right place and the right time by using your consciousness and inner guidance. Overall results will be dependent on the planets posited in the sign of Taurus, Scorpio in the Nakshatra of Anuradha, as well as the current dasha one is undergoing. For the Aquarius ascendant and moon sign natives, the lunar eclipse is going to take place in the 10th house of your horoscope, that is the sign of Scorpio, whereas right opposite to that in the sign of Taurus, Venus, Sun and Rahu are also becoming a part of this eclipse. Mars, being the host of the lunar eclipse, is transiting through the 5th house of the sign of Gemini in your horoscope. So for the Aquarius natives, the lunar eclipse is going to be an impactful event for you, as the eclipse is taking place in the two Kendra houses, that is the 4th and 10th house axis in your horoscope. So Aquarius natives are advised to be mindful while dealing with their career matters, especially if you are in a job setup, working in a job setup, or if you are into business of service, you are giving service to other people, then this is going to be a major time period for you. Avoid getting into conflicts with people in authority, or especially with females. Familial environment is likely to get transformed during this time if you are trying to figure out solutions to maintain harmony, bring in more peaceful environment within your own self and especially in your familial life. Then this is going to be a time when you will figure out some creative solutions to attain that much needed stability in your familial life, or if you want to manifest certain conveniences, if you want to buy a new car, or if you are trying to sell out a property or buy a new property, then this is going to be a time when you will find out some necessary solutions or ways in which you can do all these things in order to fulfill your desires. Make sure that you are not taking major decisions during this time related to your career or investing in property, buying or selling a property, home, a new car, especially related to your education. And Saturn, being the Nakshatra ruler of Anuradha, is currently acting as an anchor, transiting through the 12th house. So remember that it's all in your mind. The clearer you are in your mind about certain things, certain aspects, certain people, certain situations in your life, the better your life is going to be during this time. So you will be asked to be mindful while spending money during this time, so that you will be able to have a better and secure future ahead, both through a mental, physical, as well as in the matters of career. Overall results will be dependent on the planets posited in the sign of Taurus, Scorpio in the Nakshatra of Anuradha, as well as the current dasha one is undergoing. For the Pisces ascendant and moon sign natives, the current lunar eclipse is going to take place in the 9th house of your horoscope, that is the sign of Scorpio, whereas right opposite to that, Venus, Sun and Rahu are also becoming a part of this eclipse by being transiting through the sign of Taurus. Mars, being the host of this lunar eclipse, is currently transiting through the 4th house of your horoscope along with Mercury. For the Pisces natives, you are advised to be mindful with the higher educational matters, with your father, or matters related to teachers or your gurus during this time, relationship with your familial members, as well as your sibling is likely to get transformed during this time. If you are trying to figure out any creative solutions in order for you to pursue the higher education, then you will see a new light, a hope during this time. You might figure out creative solutions in order to get enrolled in some creative courses during this time, as Ketu is strong in the sign of Scorpio in the 9th house, and Moon is your 5th lord, which is all about creativity, children, education. So For the Pisces natives, this is going to be a time period where you will be focused on attaining higher education in the matters related to occult research, and through which you will try to accumulate more wealth, through which you will gather more information, as Venus, being the third lord, is also becoming a part of this eclipse. Saturn is acting like an anchor in this case, because Saturn is the ruler of the nakshatra of Anuradha, where the eclipse is getting formed. So Pisces natives are advised to remain practical about their financial matters during this time. Avoid taking up any loan during this time, because Sun is your sixth lord, is also becoming a part of this eclipse. And when it comes to Saturn, then you have to make sure that you are planning out your finances, or you are networking with people in a steady manner by being righteous, by being truthful. You are showing up your authentic self, because Saturn is 11th and 12th lord also, and it is acting like an anchor. So make sure that you are taking practical and wise decisions after consulting with authoritative people in the respective fields of life or the concerned areas of your life. Overall results will be dependent on the planets posited in the sign of Taurus, Scorpio in the nakshatra of Anuradha in your natal chart, as well as the current dasha one is undergoing.